Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name is Tasha Salinas, and I am your friendly neighborhood enlightened guru, right? I don't know how better to say it. Basically, I believe that I have reached enlightenment. Isn't that so fun to think about? And I believe that all of us are there. I feel like we're all pretty much there to varying degrees. There's some people whose consciousness haven't quite reached it, but we're all kind of on that journey. And so, who I am is someone that is able to just bring through higher consciousness information because that's just where I'm at, who I am, and my calling for this lifetime. And so I get to kick off all kinds of cool conversations. So I travel the world. I speak publicly about certain topics and subjects, and then people ask questions. So I have curious conversations, and we just really dive into the reality of our consciousness and the world. And also, I am a private coach, private mentor. So if you're interested, just get a hold of me, leave a comment below, find my card in my description or my bio here on this channel, and we can move forward with that. See if you like that, if you like the way that I speak and what I talk about. Anyway, today, what we're talking about is ascension symptoms. Basically, like physical manifestations of what's going on in our psyche as we are actually integrating this enlightenment process. It's not like we always just have this huge aha and it makes sense. For some people, they do have that instant illumination, but by and large, the collective, we are ascending, we are evolving. It's more of a gradual process. So, as within, so without. It's an old Hermetic philosophy, basically a way to describe the nature of our universe and our perspective, our perception. So, as within, so without. As we continue to unlearn habits of overthinking, overdoing, being too earthly bound, and believing in death and believing in strife and having to be, let fear be our teacher, as we unlearn those patterns, we remember that we are actually a soul having a human experience. And as we remember and lean into and allow that remembrance to come full force back into our awareness, we start to rewrite neural pathways, okay, in our mind. Patterns of thinking, patterns of thought, patterns, habits of thought. And as we begin to believe differently, our body follows suit. So if there were a trapped thought, maybe that you're feeling unloved or unlovable, and let's say you do your work and you journal and you meditate and you really are with yourself and you start to exhale and breathe into that. And then you start noticing like maybe there's like a spot on your back or maybe like tightness in your chest or maybe even like heartburn or like all kinds of things. I'm not discrediting, and no, I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to tell you to do anything. So don't sue me because you have free will and I'm just speaking. However, energetically and looking at things from a metaphorical, if it helps you to do it that way, but from an energetic lens, this is a purge. This is allowing your heart chakra as it grows and expands. You're going from so much carbon based heavy matter in thought form, trust me, to more illuminated, energetic way of understanding and perceiving love. And then your capacity for love is growing, and love is not something that we can capture or encapsulate. The heart chakra is the human center of love. And as you remember that you are love embodied, as you remember that you are worthy of greater love than you can imagine and dream, I'm turning so you can keep seeing my hands. As you remember that you are worthy of all of those things, your heart chakra expands, so to speak. And if there's any pain in there, you're thanking it. It's coming up to your awareness. I feel that in my heart. And it helps you to stop and slow down and breathe into that space and allow the breath of life to come into that heart space because you've healed it up here, but it has to make its way out of our bodies. And as we've been told, as we know, our body regenerates. It takes 7 years for this or da 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 da, and do some research on that. But actually, energetically, we're purging that out, and it's this time. And your soul knew that this was going to happen in the way that it was going to happen because on the higher realms, there is no time. We are timeless. So you're healing old patterns of thought from this lifetime and former lifetimes. We're collapsing time. That's where we are in the evolution of human consciousness, the matrix of reality. What we understand as the concepts of reality are being busted and broken down. And I'd be remiss not to remind you, because that's what we do. We spread the good news, but I'd be remiss to remind you that everything outside of you is just a manifestation of what's on the inside of you. And that's why we turn away from a lot of the chaos that's out there. That's why we look away from tragedy, knowing that there's a greater plan. And some of us are called to jump into it. So don't hear me wrong. We don't turn away. We just don't feast on the darkness, feast on the fear. We don't feast on the pain or the division or the dissension. Because this is the era of the collapse of the matrix of the world. This is the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine. It's that kind of thing. Go within, sit and find yourself. Ascension symptoms. As I continue to, right? We're always going to be responsible of our body, for our body. But I will say that there is a I would say 2022 to now, I've lost a ton of weight. And I know that I'm very active. I roller skate. I was doing CrossFit. I do yoga all the time. I'm just active. I intermittently fast. I have patterns of a healthy lifestyle. It has not always been that way. What I need you to know is that my main mode of dealing with childhood trauma was food. And then once I became a teenager, it was sex and food. And then like more overconsumption. So, understanding the physicality of diet and exercise, I get it. But over here on the energetic side, on the spiritual side, as I lost the weight of dense thoughts, my body continued to shed the weight because my body was not in a state of hyperstimulation, pumping cortisol through my body. No, I allowed myself to remember the sense of inner peace and slowed down my parasympathetic nervous system and allowing my overall nervous system just to come back into balance. And finding the ways to do that has been a journey. Everybody's journey is individual. But what does happen is you start to change. You start to become transfigured. And you start going from strictly, once again, you're going to hear the same thing, strictly carbon to crystalline. We are going from earthbound to higher frequencies, higher dimensions, 6th, 7th, 8th dimension, 5th dimensional, 12th dimensional. We're on a journey as far as our perception can pick up on it, our awareness is concerned. But back to the weight of this dimension, we start to become a little healthier and choose habits, not because something outside of us says that we need to do it, but it feels good. We start to listen to our body. And then as we're listening to our body, we're communicating with our body. And I want to remind you, I want to be the absolute first to remind you that you can't shame yourself skinny. You just can't. You can love yourself lean. And I'm sorry, that's cheesy. I actually will never say that again because that was yucky. It was like icky sounding. But the truth of the matter is you are love. Everything is love. God is love. The universe is love. Everything is energy. And everything's always in right order. And it feels right because everything is flowing. Our experience is flowing with the cosmos in a divine sequence that just feels delicious. And as you align yourself with love and that good feeling, then you start to let go of the weight of trauma, the weight of self-protection, the weight of isolation, the weight of abandonment, the weight of these things that are held. These are traumas that are stored in our fat. And when you get caught up in doing things that you just so enjoy, suddenly you realize you skipped a meal. And I'm not advocating for unhealthy eating practices. What I'm advocating for is listening to your body. If you're caught up having the funnest time, skip the damn meal and recognize that your body's calling itself to fast. And do some research about the body and fasting and how it does help to reset so many of our systems. My body was called to fasting. My sister's body was called to different ways of nourishing and treating her body and feeding her body and nourishing and listening to her body. Everyone is different. Every body is different. Listen to yours. That is part of the ascension process. Allowing your body to do what it does. You're going to lose the weight, the limitations, as you go from being death centric, living a death centric life, to being eternally oriented. Yeah, juicy. I'm also looking at my notes here because I wanted to make sure I didn't lose anything or miss off anything. Miss out on anything is what I'm trying to say. I have water, and I also drink like functional water, and I add electrolytes and magnesium, and I accidentally added too much magnesium and I could go to sleep. Like, it's that calming stuff. And it's just what I bought on a whim one day, and I usually put a little bit in my water like in the evening. It'll help relax me and go night night. Well, I'm so sleepy right now, and it's like the afternoon here. Anyway, side note, teeth. I've talked about my teeth before. Just those things had to go. One thing for me that jumped out is the metal fillings. We're energetic batteries. We're just little receptors that have an identity. We're AI. We're EI, emotionally intelligent. We're emotionally integrated. All of the energy we understand. We're energetically motivated, and with that energy you put metal. Well, metal is a conductor of energy, and so very just naturally, I didn't do it on purpose. I just started getting all of my metal fillings out for reasons, right? And then also I stopped using the deodorant that has aluminum in it. I don't know if there's a connection there, but I just don't. And you can comment on that if you'd like. But then also fluoride. I was thinking about that today in the shower. How my ex-husband, the kids are with him and me, 1 week with me, 1 week with their dad, and he uses traditional toothpaste. Good job, whatever, you know. But at my house, we use fluoride free. And I remember when I switched to fluoride free, because it helps to decalcify, or sorry, fluoride calcifies that pineal, that third eye, the pineal gland and the third eye, that connection in our body and in our soul, like all the things. Fluoride can kind of block that. And it makes sense because the matrix is what the matrix is, and there's no bad guy out there. Our higher selves are well aware of the things that we're consciously unaware of. And the reason we have all of these barriers, so to speak, why we have the distraction of the 3D, because that's the game. That is the game of Maya. Like, that's the fun, the game, the game of the illusion, the magic trick that is our reality. Well, abracadabra, mother-ers. Abracadabra means I create as I speak. I get to determine and create my reality through what I say. And I know that's bigger, but if I say I can't, then I never will. But if I say, wonder else is what else is out there, then we tend to find that. And so for me, decalcifying the third eye, that pineal gland back there, in various ways, but one of them was also removing fluoride from my toothpaste. It's all part of the journey. And is that an ascension symptom? Mm-mm. It's just a byproduct of ascension. It's not physical, but it does affect my physicality. And back to my kiddos, they're all kind of now asking further and further questions, deeper questions. They're starting to become curious. And I know with my conscious awareness, as I create my reality, I know that my children having fluoride toothpaste every 2 weeks a month, and non-fluoridated toothpaste 2 weeks a month is not going to hinder or impede their evolution. But if you're a seeker, if you're on the journey and you're seeking, listen to that. Listen to everything. Look at everything that comes through your mind. I also wrote down pains, like phantom pains, can also be messages from your higher self. And these are ascension symptoms. Everything kind of works together. How do I hear my higher self? Listen to your body. Literally that. If your body has an ailment or a pain, you might need to go see a professional or a specialist or whatever about it. But first, go within. Not into the panic and the paranoia and the trying to make it make sense and trying to logic and trying to diagnose yourself. But go within and get quiet. And say you're having a pain in your knee, okay? A pain in your knee, and you sit with that and you meditate with that, and you come to the determination that, you know what, I don't feel supported in my life. I feel like it's just me. I feel like I'm doing everything by myself all day long, nonstop, nonstop, nonstop. Well, maybe your body is asking you to slow down because you have all the support you could ever need, but how are you using that assistance? Are you taking advantage of it? If you're overworking something, at some point it's going to give up. Now, if there's a symbiotic, synergistic, connective relationship, a healthy, thriving, communicative relationship, then things are going to go a lot better for you. So our body speaks to us in that way. And then it's super cool. And like I said, I'm like a psychic, right? Like, and so sometimes my body will get my attention in the moment and say something. And I don't know what the message was. I don't even remember where I was, but I remember feeling some weirdness in my hands. And it was almost like this, like, it was like my hand was wanting to be moved, like wanting to move my hand. And I remember the feeling of, this is not yours to do. This is not yours to do. You can only do what's like in your hand. This is your action right here to take. And it was like I was being moved, and as we ascend, we're more embodied with our higher self. And I know that's crazy, but our paradigms are shifting. And so I'm saying these things to stimulate you to remember that there's no box to think outside of. Just choose your thoughts. When something goes through, allow yourself to rest and be still, and allow whatever comes through, whatever feels best, to go with that. Yes, you might be delusional for a minute and a half, but as you believe, you will receive. So as you believe that, oh, thank you for that little tinge in my hip. I know that there's nothing wrong, but I thank you for the opportunity for me to witness it and release it. Because as we know, and I'm just going to use the Bible because that's what she does, but we know in the Bible that the demons could not hang out with Jesus. They did not hang out with Jesus. If there were demons present, Jesus was called in. If he spoke directly to the demons, if he did, they were always gone. Like, they can't coexist. They can, but they need to be witnessed and released. And by meaning they can coexist is that everything is everything is everything is everything is everything, right? Everything is part of the everything. So even demons or even whatever darkness is part of love. And this had to happen so that my power would be revealed and my glory would be revealed. Jesus said those things all the time. Do we know the goodness if we don't have the contrast of the dark? Demons and fears and all these things are just thought forms. They're only alive as much as energies you give them, because where you look, where your attention goes, energy flows. So what are you magnifying? Sometimes with our body ailments, we magnify, well, my bum hip and my busted knee and my bad back and my this, and your body's like, yes, ma'am. Can you imagine what it would be like if we're just having our day-to-day lives, doing the things that we do, and then all of a sudden we heard a voice from the heavens, like literally the sky daddy God that we were kind of all like introduced to, that was like, hello, hi, or me, or like what would he say, right? But some word that like boomed. A hush would fall over the world because we'd all hear the same voice at the same time. Go figure. That's exactly what happens when you speak to your voice from the knowingness that you are one. If God is every single thing, omniscient, omnipresent, omnis, then you're part of that. And if you have the opportunity to have choice and language, you speak to your kingdom. You have free will, you have free reign, and you have control over your mind, and your body follows suit. And we communicate by speaking. I create as I speak. So story time, I went roller skating today. This morning I woke up and actually, okay, here's the story time for real. I woke up and went to the bathroom and I was like, I need to meditate. Laid down, found a guided meditation that I'd never done before. And then after that, I like woke up like electrified. And then I went roller skating and I was going along and I was just so happy. And I actually was thanking my body. I don't do this all the time. I do it when it comes to mind, but I was thanking my body for like, thank you. It's like 8:30 in the morning and I'm roller skating. It just was amazing. And then I hit a twig and I fell and I busted my butt in the same exact spot that I busted it like 4 days ago. I have road rash on my bottom from the 4 days ago, and I hit the same spot and skidded again and reopened, and it stings. It hurts like the dickens. But I was thanking my body and I was like, what was that about? And so I like kind of got my sorry behind up and went and started heading back to the car because I was done. I had already been skating for plenty of time. And I was like, what was that about? And it was just a thing. But I thanked myself for taking the fall and just being able to get back up and keep going. And the thing about it is that brought me around to my car, and I was just sitting there and I'm just laughing. And I'm like, well, thank you. That gives me time to go home and stretch a little bit because I have been feeling a bit crunchy. I've been doing a lot. Like I said, I'm very active. And just leaning into my body and melting into my body feels amazing. And that constant communication is just something that it's just an upward spiral. Like, can you love yourself too much? Can you spoil yourself too much? I'm not talking about hedonism. I'm talking about aligned soul love. When you know who you are, that you are everything. And your breath in and your breath out is the same breath that breathed life into existence. That's the same breath. So when you speak to your body, it's as though it hears God from above. And how wonderful would it be to have that open and honest relationship with the God that we were taught back in Sunday school? And that's our opportunity, that's our offering, that's our gift of this era. And so, as we talk about ascension symptoms and curious conversations and things like that, I would love to invite you to begin an ongoing, never ending, infinite, curious conversation with your body. Speak to it, allow it to speak to you. Find the divine within. I guarantee you, there's a reason that it's been trying to get your attention. It is for such a time as this. Anyway, I'm going to end there because it sounds pretty cute. You know what I mean? Like ding. All right. I love you and be well.